Hey, Guru Nation, welcome back to a special episode. Pardon the dust. My camera's not good. The lighting's not good. I'm in the middle of a move. We're going to make improvements, guys. Just be patient. But we got such a special guest on today, Kim McDonald Taylor, clinical research consultant from Ontario, Canada. Kim is someone that I've known for a while on the interwebs. I actually, this year, 2021, hello from those watching in the future. It's now July 2021. I believe it was April or March that I joined
March.
your. In March, we did Kim did a Clinical Research Association of Canada. What was it? A virtual webinar or conference?
It was a conference looking at career development.
That was such a cool event. Usually, I don't do those kind of things, but I'm glad I did, Kim, because I really love that speed dating aspect. Like you just click a button, it randomly gives you someone
Mhm.
else. You get like a minute to talk, and then you move on. That was a really cool idea. You actually inspired us at Latinos in Research to do something similar later this year. So stay tuned for details on that. But Kim is the Toronto area chairperson for the Clinical Research Association of Canada. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into why that exists. She's also an instructor at Seneca College. And then she's a professional consultant. She owns her own consulting group. She's got a lot of experience in clinical research, variety of services, medical writing, training, project management, site gap analysis, SOP development, clinical development. She's a clinical lead for multiple sites, managing lung cancer studies in US and Canada. I mean, Kim's a generalist. She does it all,
Yep. Mhm.
and she's definitely someone I get to know. Anytime someone reaches out to me on LinkedIn from Canada and says, "Hey Dan, how do I get in the end?" I say, "Look, you got to talk to Kim. Kim is you're gonna start getting a lot more referrals, Kim. Okay, we're gonna
That's
put
okay.
her LinkedIn profile underneath. Everybody, stop what you're doing, even if you're not in Canada. So what? Go
Exactly.
follow her. That's it doesn't matter, but especially if you're Canadian, what are you doing if you're not following her? I mean, that's just not a good idea. So Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm pleasure to be here.
So, how did we actually meet? Because, you're one of those people that I just I know from LinkedIn, and I have no idea how we met.
I think the first time I found you, I teach as you mentioned, a postgraduate program in clinical research at Seneca College. And I was also a teacher for Humber College before that same kind of program. And I'm always looking for videos to make things more interesting when I'm teaching. And I was Googling of different clinical research topics, and I teach quality assurance. And I found some things about auditing, getting ready for a site inspection, and great videos. So I started following you and looking at your videos on a regular basis.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's like, LinkedIn's funny because you develop these relationships, but then you try to figure out when it started, and you can't. There's no starting point because you never met in person or anything like that. So it's just kind of happens. It's kind
Exactly.
of weird, but it's cool at the same time.
Exactly.
So Kim, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you got started in research? Like, if we could go back to the beginnings, what
Sure.
were you doing before research, and then how did you discover this industry?
So I'm old, so things are very different back then. But over 30 years ago, so it's 33 years ago, um, I was working as a research technician at an academic university doing heavy metal toxicity. I was working on my master's degree, and I realized I didn't want to stay in academia. So back then, ads were in newspapers. And there was an ad for a clinical research associate in a newspaper for Searle, which is an old company it was Searle Canada, but it was an American based pharmaceutical company. And I applied and I got interviewed and I got the job. So it's pretty crazy,
What did you
really.
think, though? You saw clinical research associate. I mean, what do you think? It just sounds fancy.
I really didn't know what it was. I'm not going to lie. And there was no internet to do research because this is pre-internet. So I asked around. I had a kind of an idea, but when I got in the interview, it sounded great. And my boss who interviewed me, Nancy McCullough, she was from academia, and she realized the skills I had fit. I had the attention to detail that you need to be a CRA, the personality by working with different people. So yeah, she gave me the opportunity, which was fabulous.
Wow. So you started out as a CRA for a
Mhm.
sponsor,
Yeah.
and you've become a generalist, and not every I mean, most people in this industry remain specialists. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people prefer that route, but you are, you doing so many different things, and you're a connector. You're always connecting
Yes.
people, and networking's a big part of your career.
Mhm.
How did your career evolve from CRA to everything else you're doing?
Yeah, so I think what happened, I worked for two different farmers. I worked for Bayer as well. And then I was looking for new opportunities, and there was an upstart contract research organization called Endpoint Research, Canadian based. And I was the 12th employee. So when you start out with a small company, you get to do everything. So that's how I became a generalist because I started writing SOPs. I started doing some quality assurance work. I was monitoring, I was managing studies. So that gave me the opportunity, the small company, and we grew that to over about 250 employees, and we had three offices around the world. But unfortunately, all good things come to an end. That company no longer exists. Actually, all of the companies I used to work for, except for Bayer, no longer exist.
That's I'm glad you said that the part about small, working for a
Mhm.
small company. um, People don't think that way. I've been giving this advice for the last 2 years at least. Like, look, small is the new big. This is
Yeah,
If you want to grow quickly, you want to go to a small clinic, like a site or a CRO or a sponsor. The smaller, the better,
exactly.
because you're gonna first of all, there's less competition to get in. Is not so many people know about it,
Hmm.
right? But it's the tendency for sort of research naive people who want to get in the industry, the tendency is for them to go to the prestigious
Yeah,
AMCs,
yeah,
and you're really, you don't have a good chance of getting in, number one. And number two, once you're in there, what are you actually like? What is your role,
it's distinct and small. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of small companies because it allows you to show yourself. You're closer to the top, so they see you, they see your potential, and they allow you to grow. You become the person that fills in when someone leaves. Well, Kim got a good experience in there. Let's put her in that.
Yeah.
You
Let's put
know,
her
it,
director, and you get like a year of experience. You go if you show promise, hey,
yeah,
our director left, you're now a director, something like that. Yeah, the
exactly.
risk is the small companies can go out of business, like you said.
Of course.
But guess what? All those people, it's not like they disappear. It's not Avengers where they snap the finger and they dissolve. They go to other companies. And so now
Exactly.
that's your network, you're connected. Now you can go wherever you want. And guess what? Now you have like a director level or whatever when you go.
Hmm. And the other way that I think my career grew is during my time at Endpoint. I was there maybe 2 years. I started volunteering with the Clinical Research Association of Canada. So I've been volunteering with them since 1997, long time.
Wow.
And I was the president for quite a long time. And people that don't know me thought, boy, why does she want to be the president? It's because no one else wanted the job, because it's volunteer and it's a lot of work. So I kept trying to get, finally, I'm not the president. I don't want to be the president anymore, but it was a great opportunity. I got to meet people. When you're looking for speakers, you just phone people, cold calls. And so you meet a lot of people. People get to know who you are. And I
Yeah.
spoke at a lot of the meetings as well. So I do a lot of speaking at conferences as well. I really enjoy that. I guess because I'm teaching and all that, I enjoy speaking.
Kim is a
So,
go-getter. I mean, so we're going to talk about Clinical Research Association of Canada. It's a perfect segue. But Kim's a go-getter because, like I was saying earlier, they had the virtual conference earlier this year, and
mhm.
Kim's right when she said looking for speakers. She asked me I remember 3 times, and Kim, I was like, I'm kinda hesitant to do that stuff because, I've done, like, the DIA and the bio, and I'm just not a fan of those. Again, small is the new big. So I
Hmm.
just assumed, it's one of those things, but then Kim was persistent,
I was.
and then she was like, "Just dedicate 3 days or 2 days." I was like, "No, no way can I do that." She's like, "Okay, can you just do, like," she made it happen. She made it happen, whereas at the bigger conferences, maybe they would have been like, "Okay, he said no, let's go find
Whatever.
someone else."
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's, hats off to you, Kim, for doing that. Like, you
Thanks.
really are, a go-getter. Can you talk about that organization
Hmm.
and its importance in Canada?
Yeah, so it started in 1980. And basically, there was some clinical research professionals that were getting together in a pub and going, we need a forum that we can get together and talk about things and we can learn from each other. So they founded it in this pub. They came up with the name and everything. And then they started having dinner meetings in Toronto. And then they expanded to Montreal. So it was just mostly Toronto and Montreal. And it was a great networking. So, and we always try to pick topics that are specifically interesting to Canadians because there's nothing like that out there. Everything's very, no offense, but American focused or international focused. So we try to get things that affect Canadians as well as others. And it's been really great. I love these meetings. And honestly, I tell people to attend. It's happened more than once where someone will come up to you, okay, Kim, I need to hire two contract CRAs. Is there anybody here tonight? And I go, actually, yes, because
Mm,
I knew pretty well everyone there, this person and this person. But at the end of the day, those two people had contracts to do some work.
wow.
So that's the kind of stuff. It didn't happen every meeting, but that's the kind of stuff that happens at these meetings. Now, of course, we've had to go virtual with COVID, and it's allowed us to have a bigger reach. We also do meetings in Calgary now too. We started a group out there, but it's a lot of work setting up meetings. You become an event planner. Like you have to figure out meals and food and venues and all that
Oh
kind
my
of stuff
gosh.
too. So,
People just assume that it's so easy. And even like if you like with COVID, like the meeting I attended was virtual. Even that is a lot of work. I mean, yeah, you
it
don't have to
is.
plan food and everything, but you got to plan speakers, you got to make sure the tech is working.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It's not easy. This is
No.
a full-time job and no one really asked you necessarily
No.
to do it. But that's shows the importance of networking, what you
Oh
just
yeah.
said.
Networking is really key. And then the other thing that crack, we call ourselves crack because that's the acronym,
Ah,
um, which I think is kind of funny.
it's a good
Um,
a good acronym.
and it started before the street drug crack, just so you
I
know, it's way
gotcha.
before that. Um, we also have a certificate. So there's the ACRP and the SOCRA certifications, accreditations, which are great, but they focus on American regulations. So we developed one with a consultant. We call it Clinical Research Professional in Canada. And the regulations are Health Canada, there is EU regulations and FDA. So all
Mm,
three regulations are within it. So we've started that, and I think that's going to be really successful as well.
wow, that's
Just gives you that extra little. So I always recommend people to network, get that certification when you have a bit of experience, and it's going to help your career.
can you I'll get back to networking, but can you educate me really quick on like the main difference between Canadian regulations and US?
There's very specific things. The how the ethics committee is constituted is different. The record retention. Canada keeps records longer than anyone in the world. We keep them for 25 years. We just do. And that's never changing, apparently. They want it to be two generations. That's why. So there's little things like that that are really important that you need to know. And just the whole, the number of days of reporting SAEs, that's all the same. There's a lot of things that are the same, but there are specific differences that you just need to know.
Gotcha. Networking, whenever people reach out to me with little to no experience and I recommend networking, they're always hesitant because they feel like they have nothing to contribute. So what
Mhm.
is your answer to these people?
Well, you need your, as they say, your elevator speech, your 30-second introduction to yourself, what kind of experience you have, and why you're there. I'm here because this topic is really of interest to me. I'm here because I'm looking for a CRA position, whatever it is. And you keep it short, and you need to ask a lot of questions. You need to ask the other person about themselves. And then they just maybe talk about the subject that's being discussed to show that you have interest and knowledge. And you just try to impress people on what you know. That's what I've
Right.
done.
Yeah, I kind of give similar advice. I say, look, what skills do you have? Just period. Forget about
Mhm.
research. You know,
Yeah.
some people are like really good at TikTok and social media. Do you know how much business? I'm partnered with an oncologist in LA. You know how much he's become like a famous on TikTok because he
Really.
has a consultant. Check this out. He knows not even how to use his phone. He has a consultant come in. It's a millennial 20 something female. She comes in, she videotapes him for an hour every month. So they do like, he changes his outfits, just an hour every month. He's got like 100,000 TikTok followers.
Hilarious.
He's getting appointments from patients calling to make
Wow.
appointments. So point is, if you are somebody who knows how to do social media, maybe just like a little better than what a researcher is able to do, you can say, hey, I can help you with this. I'm actually really good at Instagram or making a website or making a
Yeah.
blog, whatever.
Those skills are really great. Like I started going on Twitter and I actually helped ask my daughter, who's a millennium, okay, how does Twitter work? What is hashtag? What is that? So she gave me a 10-minute lesson and I'm on Twitter and I have a fair number of followers, which is great. And I tweet about clinical research.
Yeah.
And when there's new stuff happening, I tweet it. And I also use LinkedIn a lot. I'm on LinkedIn. Every day I spend some time on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is amazing.
It is. I've gotten a lot of work from LinkedIn. One of two of my new clients who I love, they're small companies. I really love working with small companies because I can help them. I'm developing SOPs, I'm writing protocols, things like that. I got the work from LinkedIn.
Yeah, actually, I love the small market cap companies too, and it's fresh in my mind because I just did the video 2 days ago. There's a company in Canada, actually Vancouver based, called PharmaTher. I don't know if you're
I have
familiar
heard
with
of
them.
them. Yes.
So they do psychedelic
Yeah.
research, ketamine and reformulations. It's a very interesting company, but their market cap is only like 53 million US dollars. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for anybody watching to be able to go connect with them on LinkedIn partner. Is this like the type of clients you look for?
Exactly, exactly. Actually, I'm working with a similar kind of company working with ketamine and psychedelics. It's a
Canada's
really
big in that
growing,
stuff.
yeah. We have one of the gurus, Mark Hayden, who's at in University of BC, and so there's a lot of spin-offs that have come from the work he's done. So
Yeah,
there is a
Canada.
lot of this work in Canada for sure.
Why is Canada like leading the way seemingly in like CBD research and psychedelic and different things like this?
Well, we legalized cannabis, so that has a big part of it. So I think it's easier to do research here.
Hmm.
CRAC is actually holding a symposium in October on cannabis and psychedelics.
I saw something like that on your
Yeah, yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's so
And
we'll if you want to get a whole information on that, message Kim on LinkedIn. Again, her link is underneath. You have to go follow. So
yeah, we're
talk.
going to start promoting it very soon. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay, good,
exciting.
good, good. I
Hmm.
actually I'll join that one. Um, so when did the transition happen from working for you, working for others to
Okay.
working for yourself?
Great question. So when Endpoint closed, I was looking for a change and I actually switched into the reimbursement area. And I worked in reimbursement for 5 years, which I think was a really good experience. It gave me a business aspect of what we do and helped me understand, but I was missing clinical research. So I just decided to hang out my shingle. I got word of one contract. So I quit and I went to work for one contract. So I didn't make a lot of money the first year, I'll tell you that. And it was a bit lean. but I networked and called people. I took a lot of people out for lunch, and I got a few contracts with some friends and colleagues. And now I'm actually turning away business sometimes. If
Wow.
I'm really busy, I only want to take so much. I don't want to drive myself crazy. So I balance and I choose work that I like to do. So when I have a few gigs that I do in a regular, there's one company I train for them once a year. So that's
Yeah.
one thing I do. There's another company I review their SOPs every 2 years. So there's a few things that I just have little steady things, and then I teach at Seneca, which is a little bit of it. It doesn't pay as well the teaching, but I really like it.
See, the agency, like a lot of this is underrated. When you start a business, first of all, it's not for everybody. I mean, we can spend an hour on this topic, but it's kind of like taking when, especially when you're starting out, it's like taking maybe a step forward every day, and then once like every other week, you take like 5 steps back.
Yeah.
So at the end of the month, you're still up, but all you remember is like the big failures, and this is why people quit. I think this is why people quit like so early.
It can
When
be discouraging for sure. And I have one client who, oh, there's so much potential there, and they haven't got any money right now. And it's really frustrating. So I'm
wow.
doing work gratis for them on the promise of pay coming because I just know that it's an amazing thing that they're working on. I can't really say anything else about it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so there are things like that you just get into, but helping companies succeed just it makes me feel like when I retire, I've made an impact, and that's important to me in my life. So,
And that's I know from interacting with you that that's legit, especially working for free. You know, I'm in that same situation with one of our sponsors. Uh, People outsiders would look at us and say, "Hey, that's crazy. Why?"
crazy.
Yeah, you're not maximizing your ROI per every hour that you're breathing. Why? What's wrong with you, Kim? What's your answer?
Exactly. And I'm
What's
like,
your
it's self satisfaction and making a difference. When you see something that's going to be really amazing, then you do it. It just
hmm
makes sense to do it. I want to make a good impact. So when I retire in about 5 years, I hope, then I'll be in a good spot and I'll feel good about what I've done in my career.
Yeah. So what because your consulting company has been doing this for about almost 10 years now.
10 years, yes, 10 years. It's amazing. So I bring in other people. So I have a lot of virtual groups. So there's a regulatory person, Anna, that I work with all the time. So if my client needs that, she comes in and helps me. There's some other operations people, there's some CRAs. So I have a network of people that I bring in for bigger projects.
Mm,
So I just don't do everything all by myself, but I have a little, like we're not an incorporated company together, all these people, but we all kind of work together, and it works
wow,
well.
I like that. But before we started recording, you and I were talking about the industry. You know, I get people reaching out, U.S., Canada, all over the place, actually. And interestingly enough, like when people want to immigrate, they Canada's like right there on the list. Like I get people from all over the place that say, "Hey, I'm trying to immigrate to Canada. Can you help me find a job there?" Usually, I tell them about crack,
Mhm.
the organization, not the drug, crack, and then I tell them, "Hey, Kim is a good person to get to know." But I don't have anything other than that. But you were telling me before we started recording about you've never seen the
Yes.
industry like this. What do you mean by this?
Well, it's interesting on LinkedIn, especially. I'm noticing a lot of entry level positions being posted. And I post them, I copy them and post them on the Crack LinkedIn group, which you should join. It's a great group. Well, you've joined it, but I'm telling the people
Yeah,
listening
yeah.
to join it, because there's some, like, literally, there's probably 3 or 4 jobs a week that are entry level that are coming up at sites, at pharma companies, at consulting companies, and mid-level jobs, and also senior, of course. But I've never seen so many jobs available. I think there was a slowed down during COVID, and now they're starting up again. There's a lot of work out there right now, which is great. My students, Seneca, are really excited because I think there's a lot of opportunities for them to land really good positions.
I think so
So,
too.
and
For
I
your
also think for someone coming to Canada, taking one of these post-grad programs, I really recommend it. It gives you a really good basis. They have a really good reputation. There's a few of them around. If you go to an employer and you have that, they know that they're not having to start from the bottom teaching you, that you have a level of knowledge that you're
mm,
going to be able to apply. You're going to hit the ground running, which is what employers always want.
yeah, no, good point because I think people, and this is just human nature, but the tendency is to think about your needs first, and you're not necessarily thinking about why the employee wants the employer wants this. You know, the employer wants this because they want to at least know that you understand research so that you
Hmm.
know what you're getting yourself into. But they don't want you quitting after like 2 weeks of onboarding you
Yeah,
because it's not for you. So those
yeah,
kind of things at least set a foundation like, okay, this person at least knows they took a 3-month course or whatever. That's why our CRC Academy is good too. I think
yeah.
you know what you're getting into. You're less likely to quit,
Yeah,
basically.
these programs are 1 year. They have 4 months of school, 4 months of an internship, and 4 months of school. So there's a
Wow.
lot of schooling they learn. It's a pretty intense program.
Is that Seneca College?
Yeah, and Humber
Okay.
College has something similar. Michener College has something, but it's less intense, it's shorter. And then McMaster has one which is less intense as well. But there's a lot of programs out there, whatever fits your needs.
Mm.
But they're pretty intense. You really do learn a lot. Like I have them writing SOPs. So when you write an
Wow.
SOP, you appreciate what an SOP is all about,
I
right?
had,
So,
oh, maybe you can help answer this viewer question. I had one yesterday. I can tell they want me to help them with their job interview. But
right.
basically, they said, hey, how do I write an SOP for site GCP training? And I said, well, look, it's like every year, every 2 years, look at the vendors, come up with SOP. What would you say to this person?
I always think an SOP is just like a recipe. What do you do normally? Write down those steps. Okay, now embellish them all, make them more detailed, and there's your SOP. And then format it, and you're done. Like it doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah,
It's literally the steps that you take. So I always say it's a recipe,
yeah,
and it's a fairly detailed recipe.
I like that. Yeah, deconstructing the
Yeah.
elements. Yeah, a lot of detail goes into. If sounds easy, it's not easy when
Oh
you're
no,
actually
it's
doing
not
it.
easy. I write a lot of SOPs for my clients. I've written hundreds of SOPs. So yeah,
Wow.
no, it's not easy. And every company does them a little different.
Yeah,
So
I've only done SOPs for the sites that I own, and
yeah.
I jump in, and when CRAs ask, "Hey, do you have a SOP for transporting IP or something that we actually don't have maybe?" Then I'll get in there and I'll just add a new section, like a few paragraphs. But it's tough because you got to be concise, but also you got to make sure it's something that you can actually follow.
Exactly. If it's too precise, like if you say you're going to review your SOPs every year, you're not going to do that. Every year is ridiculous.
Right,
Like you can't do it. It's a full-time job just reviewing SOPs. So
right.
make it reasonable. And,
Yeah,
and you can't say, yes, I'm going to spin something in the centrifuge at whatever temperature. Maybe some protocols it's different. Just
right.
say the specified temperature as per protocol, for
Yes,
example. Like
yes.
you can be
It's
too specific too.
it's like a
It's
art in research, what I've
mhm,
noticed from the FDA or the regulators on down to this, what you're just saying.
yeah,
It's about um, being vague enough while also being concise
yes,
uh, and
and I
detailed enough. It's like an art because you can't be too detailed because
no,
then you're not going to be compliant.
yeah,
You kind of want to be vague, but you don't want to be too vague.
yeah,
It's a
exactly,
art. This
yeah.
is not easy skill.
So these courses are great, and I really recommend them to give you that base that you need.
Gotcha. What what are you seeing your students nearing the completion of their program? What are you seeing them trying to get into? Like what kind of roles?
A lot of them are getting in as clinical research coordinator assistants, maybe recruiters, and I know
Patient
you've talked
recruiter.
about that's a really good way to get into industry, patient recruiting, or clinical trial assistants at pharma companies. A couple have actually got jobs at Health Canada as reviewer assistants. So you start at the bottom, assistant role, but you move up quickly. Um,
Yes.
that there's a lot of different kinds of roles, and there's a lot of these CROs that are looking for data management people that you can also go into that. You don't
Data
need.
management's a thing that I need to learn more about. Do you know enough about this to I get those questions a lot also.
Well, there's a lot of clinical review that's involved in data management. So they need clinical expertise to help them with some of the decisions they make. You can be a data entry person. That's not a very exciting job, but it can move up to being data manager. Really critical. And there's a lot of data management companies that just do data management. McDougall Scientific is a really big one in
Yeah.
Canada, but there's lots of different ones that do that, just data management. And then there's companies that do the whole gambit. Um,
Like the
yeah,
big CROs.
yeah,
Uh so because and I always think compartmentalize like okay, data management, they're like in a silo. They're tech people, they're just looking. But you're saying that there's a opportunity for somebody
mhm.
who understands someone like you maybe, or maybe not as experienced as you, like
No,
something
you
more.
wouldn't need to be as experienced as me. Some of our staff or some of our students have gone into data management roles, um, even designing questionnaires.
Okay.
So you need a clinical understanding, a patient understanding to do that sort of thing.
I see. Because if you leave those aspects up to the data management geeks, like the people
Yeah, it's not gonna.
programming the thing, they don't know what patient, have to go through, or they don't know what it takes to actually run a study. It's kind of like the SOP. You got to be compliant. You can't just
Yeah,
build a rigid
exactly.
system. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
So
What
so
are
there.
these roles called, though? Like these people who do this?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. Data management assistant, I think, something like
Uh,
that. I actually really am not sure, but I know
wow.
a lot of them have gotten roles like that. So there's a few. There's a company, Axiom, that seems to hire a lot of our grads, and they do work like that. So,
Wow.
um, and then they move on. Like some of these students come in, they're nurses, and I go, "Oh, nursing, you're going to do great in this." And with this background, they land roles as a research coordinator
Yeah.
because they've got the clinical research or nurse, boom, right into coordinating, which is fabulous for them. So
Yeah. That's awesome, Kim. I guess as we're wrapping up,
mhm.
where do you see research like this next decade?
A lot more virtual. I see a lot of virtual trials. We've had to pivot there very quickly, and that's very unusual for the pharmaceutical industry to move quickly. So I think a lot of wearables. So wearables is a really growing area that people could get jobs in, probably helping understand the kinds of wearables that patients need so that they don't have to come into the clinic for their visits. It also helps with getting those patients that are lower socioeconomic strata that can't afford to get to the sites, they can do studies still. So we're going to have more diversity in our clinical trials by using wearables and virtual trials. So a lot of advantages there. And I think a lot of these small niche companies, in the psychedelics and other areas like that, are going to be coming up and doing some really important research.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being on. Link to Kim's LinkedIn underneath. You need to go connect. Any last bit of advice for somebody watching that's trying to advance their
Network.
career? Network.
Definitely network, but don't just write to someone on LinkedIn and say, "Can you get me a job?" Just connect with them, follow them, comment on. Like, don't just ask for a job. Like, I would not recommend someone I don't know. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
get
People
to know
think that we
people.
can do that. It's, I guess,
No,
a little bit crazy
it is.
uh, to think that. And
But volunteer at places like crack, but really volunteer. Get in there, get involved. I've recommended people that have volunteered that have moved up in the industry because I knew them and I knew they were good workers. So you got to know someone So getting a mentor, but you can't just ask someone to be your mentor. You have to work there.
Yeah, now everyone's gonna ask you, Kim. Be my mentor,
No,
Kim.
I don't have time.
That's the thing there.
Yeah,
Networking
yeah.
is
But
we can do a whole hour.
networking is really important. So I recommend that getting out there and meeting, go to conferences, talk to people.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It'll be we'll do more definitely, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And
Perfect.
everybody go connect. And thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you all later. Bye bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.